We love horror movies from the 70s and 80s, and we watch them for 2 days straight, and then we go write a book. Now we're looking back at every title, one at a time, in this podcast that we put out monthly. Once we've had an episode for every movie, it's time to meet up for another Shock Marathon. Oh yeah, the red light is red, which means we're recording an exciting December episode of the Shock Marathons podcast. I'm Matt Farley here with Charlie Roxburgh.
Greetings.
Ava Scalzo.
Hi.
And Tom Scalzo.
Hello.
Let's get into it.
Long time coming.
One of
It's been
one of our all-time
decades.
One of my all-time faves. Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 2. And it starts off with Ricky smugly smoking a cigarette in this meeting room, I guess, in the insane asylum. The orderly walks in to deliver the tape recorder. Even for 1987, that's a pretty big piece of equipment we're dealing with there, wouldn't you say, Charlie? Charlie?
Oh yeah, I mean it. Yes, I would say it is quite large, and I would also.
You would also what?
I saw you doing some technical difficulty stuff.
No,
you're good. I'm gonna say real quick before we move on too much. All the looks in this beginning are fantastic.
Yeah.
You guys it's like a foreign film with all the weird vibes in the air and the looks. It's just a masterpiece of staging and acting, and the whole thing. You're just like, oh man, what's gonna happen next? That guy's staring that guy down, and this guy, what's he looking at? And it's just curious and creative and fantastic.
When the orderly like waves his finger at Ricky, he doesn't do it's like not a normal thing. Like normally, like you kind of like waggle your finger a little bit. He like
Matumbo.
Whole arm movement.
It's
like no.
He's even pointing. It's like
so
his way
weird.
his finger is set is not.
Yeah, no human has ever done that to another.
The orderly's underrated in film history because he really delivers.
Yeah, he does.
And he was right. He was right to not trust Ricky. So yeah, like we say, there's a lot of back and forth between Ricky and it. Like Charlie says, it's all said just with looks. And from the opening moment, it's just like, man, Ricky, what a character! What great expressions, and just so much can be said with just eyebrows and sneering. He just exudes badness in every way, and he's not. The character's not trying to hide it, and the actor's not trying to hide it either. Charlie.
And just real quick, in a lot of movies with asylums, the people act so troubled, and they're doing this kind of thing. He's just like tough, and he's jokey, and there's something about him that makes it different from almost every other 80s horror movie I've seen, where the person in the asylum is more of an artsy, whimsical, crazy. This guy is just, he's like a cartoon character, but in a great way, you know? It's something we've never seen before.
And the thing that's so surprising is that he's like, he looks like this very confident jock type, he's like big and brawny, and he's clean shaven, and he's got like the hair that's perfectly styled. And so like, not at all. Like, again, so this was my first time ever seeing this movie.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't have any context as to who this person was in the asylum. And I don't know that they say that his name for a good while there, because it's mostly silent and lots of look exchanging. So at first I'm like, I don't even know where we are situated, right? Because it's this room. And then I figure out like, oh, they're going to interrogate him. But I was like, but it can't be he can't be in jail because he's got no handcuffs. Mm. So there was like a lot of like me figuring out what was kind of happening. But like one of the things that made it even harder to figure out was the fact that like this guy did not seem like a typical prisoner or, inmate of asylum, or, like there was no easy way to place him.
There's nothing typical about Ricky. And
in media race, you're just boom, here you go, asylum.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure out these looks. Figure it out. And it's so good. It's like it plays like lightning. It's like so fast. It's never boring. You're just like, oh my gosh. They're all one-upping each other with looks and amazing.
In walks the doctor, Henry Bloom, who tells the orderly, "You can leave now." The orderly, does not seem to approve, and the doctor just says, "Now!" So that was great.
People just snap at each other. You just sat down to watch this movie, and in the first couple of minutes, people snap at each other with an unholy fury.
So he introduces himself to Ricky, who immediately swears at him. So again, Ricky is just badness personified, but it's like this cartoonish 1950s badness. Like if a kid was going to dress up as a thug from 1955, sort of. Like the attitude that comes with that. I don't know if I explained it properly, but anyway. The doctor explains that he's Ricky's last chance. Ricky starts yelling at him. The orderly comes back in, but the doctor sends him away yet again. "Sit down, Ricky," the doctor says. This Dr. Bloom is no nonsense. And the date appears on the screen. It's December 24th.
Fantastic.
I'm just saying, I maybe pick a different day to conduct the interview, It's like in Halloween. They're always moving Michael on October 30th,
Well, he's trying to push Ricky's buttons.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, too, because, like, the doctor obviously had a case file, so he would have known the significance of the date. Yeah. So, like, this is not
it's
a surprise.
It's a poor choice.
Foolish. Doctor wants to know Ricky's story, beginning with who killed Ricky's parents. So we get a flashback to baby Ricky in the car with mom, dad, and brother Billie. Okay, so listeners probably know this. Everyone knows this. Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 consists of ample flashbacks to part 1, and a lot of people rip on the movie for it. I applaud the movie for it. There's no need to watch part 1. We get all the best parts of that movie, and then we only need half of the writers of part 2 only have to write half a great movie, and you put it all together and you have the perfect movie. But the question, Charlie, was there a baby in part 1?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I was thinking that myself, Farley. I imagine that. Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't think so. The way you look at it with the shots of the baby on the mom's lap, you
didn't insert later.
It's always inserts. You never see the baby other than those tight insert shots of the baby in the mom's lap. I'm pretty sure. Tom, do you remember?
Yeah.
Shots from part 1?
In part 1, is there even a Ricky, is my question. I think it's just Billie and the mom and dad in part 1. And for part 2, they just did a couple tight inserts of a baby on mom's lap. And that was the extent of it. I should have done the research, and I apologize.
Well, no, there's some shots. There's a shot of the baby in a car seat in this one though.
But that could have been an insert as well. I don't think you ever see.
It could have been.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a minor point, but I know that the directors did do some subtle additional edits throughout the flashbacks to help with the continuity of the part 2 story. And they do a great job. Like, this is seriously a fantastic work of art and craftsmanship by the people who made it. And it's so easy to just laugh at it and be like, oh, what a dumb movie sequel. But it's like these guys added life and verve and comedy and excitement to this kind of all. I don't know. I don't like part 1 at all. I think part 1 just feels grimy and gross.
Much grimier.
Yeah.
You're kind of getting it tempered a little bit here by this Ricky,
Yes. So anyway, I was just curious about any listeners out there. My number is 603-644-0048. Let me know, was the baby in part 1? Tom, what do you got?
I was just saying, like, we will get back to it at the end more when we discuss, but I feel like that part 1 it had more of an arc, and I feel like the flashbacks do make for kind of an unevenness in terms of like a plot in this one, but it doesn't take away from some of the fun. But you know what I mean? Like in terms of like an actual story arc, this one doesn't really have one.
Yeah, well,
I mean, so I I'm the only one who's watching this for the first time.
Yeah.
So my take was I was concerned on Twitter when I had discovered that we were watching part 2 of this movie because I was like, oh my God, is it necessary for me to have seen part 1? Well, question answered, no, clearly not necessary for me to have seen part 1. Very obviously, these flashbacks pretty much are probably only the interesting parts of part 1. However, taken the way they all come together upon you, like it's a lot of horribleness and like a lot of weird boob shots.
Yeah, they saved every one of those. They did not waste one.
And I think the other thing that there's that. Then the other comment I wanted to make was regarding the continuity. It's like they maybe did an okay job, except that they did a terrible job with these characters' ages.
Oh yeah.
And the age difference between Billie and Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you see them in the car at first, like Billie is supposed to be what? 7, except he's
7. They
say like a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And then there's like a 6-year age difference. So then when they flash forward to later on where Billie is 18 or whatever, Ricky's supposed to be 11, except it looks like he's only 6.
So in a low budget movie like this, it's a little bit off, but it's kind of fun to feel your buttons sort of being pushed. You could sense that they're trying to fix things, and it's kind of like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. They thought that would actually work, And sometimes it really does, sometimes it doesn't. And you're right. I didn't think a ton about the ages, except for the part where they show Ricky, and we're going to get to this, but at 17 and then at 18, and they decided to use a different actor 1 year later. That was crazy. And they actually go out of their way to say his age at multiple points. But you're right about the youngsters. It's a little funky, but it's also delightful.
I love intermediate Ricky. And going way back to a point made by Tom about story arc. Look, this is like changing plot at like story arc is an antiquated concept is what I'm telling you, Tom. And these guys realized this in 1987 when they were making this movie, and that's how forward thinking they are regarding story arc. All right, just had to
like modal jazz.
Yes. Yes, it really is. Cool. All right. So that was quite a tangent. Now let's focus on the plot. So that night, they're still driving. In the middle of the road is a Santa by a car that seems to, he needs assistance. A guy dressed as Santa. Wonder what this... this guy deserves his own movie too, Yeah. But anyway, they pull over to see if he needs help, and he pulls out a gun, shoots Dad, rips off Mom's shirt, and slices her neck. So that's what causes Billie. And, we got to also factor in Ricky is telling this story, he was an infant when it happened, so he's just telling the story from what he's heard from Billie. Which is all this convolutedness kind of adds to the fun too, like Charlie said. Like you're like, wait, how does he even know any of this?
Yeah, and you get even more of that later.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Doctor wants to know about Ricky's stay at St. Mary's Orphanage. We see, and again, all the stories he has are about Billie. Because that's what the flashbacks are. They already have the footage, so they got to show that. So we see Billie's Christmas drawing. And he depicted Santa being stabbed and a reindeer with its head chopped off. And Mother Superior is, no nonsense, huh? Talk about tough love, Tom, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, these kids have had a rough go, and she's not helping. At every turn, where just a little hug or a little word of encouragement would have smoothed things over. At every possible chance to make it worse, she does.
Yeah.
It was Sister Mary Magdalene who is the only redeemable nun in that con.
I know, she was so caring, but ultimately always overruled by Mother Superior. So that Sister Mary Magdalene later tells Billy he can come out of his room after he's been sent to his room, and on his way out, he hears some moaning and sees two people involved in the physical expression of love, and this gives him flashbacks to when his mom was violated by Santa Claus, and then Mother Superior barges in and starts whipping the lovemakers. So, I mean, we're just adding psychological problems on top of psychological problems for poor Billy. I mean, the kid never had a chance.
No, he really didn't.
And then here we get the punish kind of, instilled. It's going to play out more.
Yeah.
Like you said.
It's
but,
not subtle.
No.
And we don't want it to be.
There's a nice connection in House on Sorority Row there, too, with the den mother or the house mother.
Oh, yeah. Very good.
Attacks the lovers, and then we assume her son is watching that, too.
Sheesh. Good point. Yeah.
Wow.
Outside, Mother Superior explains that those two were being naughty and were deserving of the punishment, and then she spanks Billy because he left his room, even though the other nun said he could. Sheesh.
Yeah, not cool.
Back in the present day, the doctor asks if Ricky has dreams. What does Ricky say?
I don't sleep.
That's right.
Oh, it's so good. It's like Arnold 80s like one-liners, but from the B-movie version, and it's just, they're great.
And then a great segue, but Billy had terrible dreams, which Mother Superior handled by tying Billy to the bed. Sheesh, the poor kid. All right, next we see Mother Superior forcing Billy to visit a guy dressed as Santa. And then Billy punches him and runs away.
Oh, bravo for that scene.
It's
The
marvelous.
staging and everything. The little kid throws like a haymaker. Can I call it that? He throws like he winds up and it looks real, and he connects with Big Santa's chin. Down goes Santa. It's like,
It's
wow, fantastic.
And all of that was in the first movie?
Yes, yeah. From what I heard in the commentary that I listened to years ago, they did do a number of little inserts, like the baby, I think, but definitely, other, because they wanted to tie Ricky into it. And I really don't think there's a Ricky character in part one. So, like, when they do that shot of, like, Billy dead in the snow or whatever, then it cuts up. There's, like, a little jump cut before you see Ricky watching, because there was no Ricky initially, I think. Anyway, we pause so the doctor can put a new tape in the recorder. Again, I mean, just get a regular little tape recorder at the drugstore, and you got like some 90-minute tapes there. But anyway, now we're going to jump ahead to when Billy leaves the orphanage. Mother Superior got him a job at a local toy store where he's dressed up as Santa. Again, Mother Superior. I was about to say she has the best of intentions, but is she evil? Like, does she want him? What are her intentions, Tom?
I don't know. I mean, maybe she's some psychological strategy, to make him confront his fears or something, but I don't think she's that deep. I think she's mean.
She was just mean.
Just plain mean. Yeah, wow.
She's got problems.
So then we see a little girl on his lap as he's dressed as Santa, and he whispers that he'll severely punish her for being naughty, which causes her to settle down a bit. And then the parents like, oh, he's so good with children. Now it's a toy store Christmas party. Two employees sneak into the back room to get intimate. Billy's still dressed as Santa and quite disapproving of what he sees. And then his boss says, you remember what Santa does on Christmas Eve, don't you? Just to, further, like, hammer into poor Billy that it's time for him to go kill those people, Again, he doesn't have a chance. So Billy goes to see what they're doing in the back room, and he sees that Andy is being way too aggressive with the lady. He tears her shirt off and starts forcing himself upon her. So what does Billy do? He strangles the guy with a string of Christmas lights. And the woman, not appreciative at all, huh, Charlie?
No. She doesn't. That it colors when we see the later scene where the woman's appreciative. It's a nice yin and yang there. But no, she's not appreciative, and then she pays the price.
Yeah, so he kills her too. What, with a crossbow? Is that right?
No, that comes later with.
Oh, then he kills another lady with a crossbow. What's the crossbow? The crossbow is a toy, like.
Yeah, a deadly toy that's next to like the He-Man.
All right.
stuff.
Oh yeah, he kills the boss. Yeah, he kills the boss. Yeah, they're selling this like incredibly deadly toy at the toy store.
Good old days.
Next, Ricky's story takes us to the home of a couple who are getting intimate on a pool table. So, just like keep this in mind. This is a story being told by Ricky, of something that happened to his brother that Ricky, again, can only know from reading police reports at this point, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, we will soon discover why it would be impossible for Ricky to not have actually ever heard any of this firsthand from Billie.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, he definitely didn't hear it from Billie. And, the details that Ricky's able to provide for
the
us.
wolf painting on the wall and the artwork of the pool table, the whole thing, yeah.
So, yeah, they're getting intimate on the pool table. They need to take a break so the woman can let the cat in. And Billie just happens to be outside the door with the cat. And he comes in and punishes the woman by just, like, killing her with antlers that are displayed on the wall of the house.
Antlers Girl.
Who won? She won Best Supporting Actress for this in the original Shock December. So
yeah, we had low standards.
Do you think the antlers is a reindeer reference, or is it just whatever weapon he happened to find?
That's a good. I didn't think of it that far, but I think it was a nice added bonus to to the fact that they had access to that to film with. But yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's something just that particular body placement was especially well done, but I think there is some added bonus to thinking. I don't know if they really thought that far, considering the other things that they missed thinking about. But let's give them some credit. Let's say yes.
Yeah, let's go. Let's give it to him. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, but I mean,
cool.
What's Billie do? Like, Billie went on the killing spree at the toy store. Now he's just like checking in each house until he sees two people being intimate, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just.
And it was not an attack either. When he apparently gained interest in them, really, right? I mean, at least I don't know how long he was there for.
Yeah,
but...
it seems it was consensual.
It's just
no,
naughty.
Billie is. Yeah. He's totally lost it.
He's off the rails, yeah.
All right, so then the guy comes up, finds Antlers Girl on the wall. He hits Billie with a fireplace poker. Billie recovers and kills the guy and throws him out the window. So then Ricky's story then extends to the local police. I like to imagine that he tells the doctor the dialogue, like, and then the sheriff said to the, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Word for word. We watched two officers barge into a home and almost shooting an innocent dad who was dressed as Santa. That they saw. Charlie, yes.
Oh, why doesn't the dad know how Santa works? Santa doesn't go into the kids' bedroom and then lurk over them. Santa goes down to the tree and leaves the presents.
Yeah.
So it's a real cheat because the whole thing would be to not like wake up the kid if you're trying to do this whole thing, and also not to creep over.
Yeah. Or if he wanted his daughter to see someone dressed as Santa, I mean, he could have just come through her bedroom door, Because
yes,
you know what I mean. The window's completely unnecessary, other than for the sake of so the cops would see it,
But it's kind of delightful. Again, I knew they were in the wrong, and I liked it kind of. I thought that's so they didn't think they didn't care, nor do I really right now.
Yeah, it's fine. Now Ricky's story, mind you, like you have to remind yourself periodically that all of this is Ricky's story. It gets into the details of a little feud between some sledders. And so there's two guys who are ready to go sledding, and then two bullies show up, Bob and Matt, and they take the sleds from the two guys. And which turns out, so I guess presumably Billie's watching this and thinks they're naughty for having done that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're bullies.
He says something about not liking bullies or bullying
Right.
is not nice, or he says something
Yeah.
He's the moral compass.
allegedly.
So now one of the bullies is going to go down on a sled. And by the way, I mean, talk about
In
age.
the history of bullies.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Age discrepancy, too. I mean, the type of argument happening between these four guys and the fact that then they go sledding, they should all be 11, right? Like not,
Yeah,
but they all
Yeah.
look about
No.
25, right?
exactly. That was also very problematic.
Yeah.
And they just happen to be wandering through the woods in the middle of the night. Like, hey, look at I want to go sledding. Let's get those sleds.
Yeah, and Billie happened to be there to witness it too.
In the woods.
And one of them says, "What if I hit a tree?" And then the other bully's like, "Just go." So then
Good
the other
question,
bully
though.
follows and gets his head chopped off, and that's when Ricky says Billie hated bullies. Then we see Sister Margaret discussing the case
So
with
just
the
you
police
just
officer.
remember like you just picture Ricky and Billie like sitting on the porch sipping lemonade, like. And then there was a time that I went into the woods and chopped this guy's head.
I wish, but they never even had that moment because Billie died before he could tell Ricky.
I know. I just.
It was all done in drawings, in crayon drawings. You're like, chapter 1, me decapitating the sledder. And it's like, oh, yeah.
Okay, now Billie makes it to the orphanage, or we think it's. Oh, this is tragic. This is so tragic. We see a Santa Claus. It must be Billie, right? That's what the police think. They shoot him right in front of the orphans. What a terrible mistake! It was the janitor. He does it every year. Okay, the orphans have just witnessed a Santa getting shot. Okay. Note that. Okay. Now we follow a police officer as he explores some buildings on the grounds of the orphanage. Again, this is a story being told by Ricky. Billie, and then the guy, we follow his whole search through this dark area, and then he comes up, and Billie kills him with an axe, saying, "Punish." And then Billie uses the bloody axe to chop off the head of a snowman. Nice little touch there, huh, Charlie?
Yeah, keeping the Christmas feel going.
Oh no, Billie is at the door of the orphanage. Keep in mind, the kids just witnessed Santa getting shot, but nevertheless, one of the kids goes up to the door to let him in because it's like, it's Santa. What else am I gonna do? And Mother Superior starts chanting, "There is no Santa Claus." What's that? I mean, that's never established. That's a way to stop him, right, Charlie?
Not at all. And it's almost like something you would say against a supernatural menace.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, there is no voodoo, or these incantations won't work. Like, there's tons of Santas. There's killer Santas. There's handyman Santas. There's anything could be going on, including the guy who's right there.
Yeah.
It's never established. She could have like prayed or
just said,
she
"Hey
could've-
Billie, this is Mother Superior. Go to your room."
His power doesn't come from his
Santa
costume.
Yeah.
It comes from his hatred of her.
Yeah.
It's I mean, when you think about it, what he is doing is basically an extension of her evil, right? Like, she is the one who has, like, throughout his lifetime, clearly reinforced the idea that any sort of sexual or sort of wrong-headed behavior is punished with some sort of physical, like, beating or, and so, he maybe takes it a step further with the murder part, but it's kind of a natural progression, right? Like,
So now the poor orphans have to witness another Santa. It feels like it's like 20 minutes later, and the orphans are fine after the first Santa getting shot. They're back in the orphanage, just kind of like playing around the tree.
Yeah, maybe another one will come with presents.
Let's let them in, So Billie's shot. Sister Mary Margaret, is that the nice one? Is that the
Yeah.
She embraces the dying Billie.
Yep.
who says, "You're safe now, Santa Claus is gone." And then we get a little shot of Ricky who whispers, "Naughty." And again, I think that was added for part 2. Now Ricky's story continues. So at this point, I don't know how many minutes in it is, but like we're no longer seeing clips from part 1 at this point. Now it's just its own movie. And
there was 48 minutes left in the movie at that point.
Okay.
I wrote down. That's when it becomes Ricky's story, pretty much.
Interesting. All right. Yeah. So I mean,
and it's just like wow from then on.
Yeah.
So according to the VHS, it's 88 minutes. So that was 40 minutes of film.
Yeah, that's pretty. And I mean, it's 40 minutes, and it's there's still a lot of the interview between Ricky and the guy too. So there's probably 30 minutes of clips. Obviously, more than what's recommended in most sequels. But I love it.
Oh, it's so amazing. Yeah.
All right, now Ricky's story continues. He's out of the orphanage, living with the family, the Rosenbergs. They don't celebrate Christmas. They treated him okay. We see some 16mm footage of his happy childhood with them. And the question is like, what are we like? I guess you just have to suspend your disbelief, but why? Like, why the 16mm? Charlie?
Yeah, I guess they just wanted to montage it quick.
I guess
just show he was happy. I don't even know why. Why show he's happy? Why show that? Bother showing he was happy for a year or whatever, when it was all gonna fall apart anyway. But I don't know.
Then we see.
But it's okay. But it's weird because the scene that comes up is like one instance of PTSD, and then allegedly he has a perfectly good life, and he's really sad when his stepfather dies. But we should maybe go in order. So
but that's the next scene where he sees some nuns and he gets nervous, but his mom's talking to somebody and can't be bothered. And then he sees the color red.
That was great.
Red.
I like those nuns in slow motion. This movie pushes your buttons by saying, what if everything that could be the worst thing at this point to happen to this kid happens. And it does, and it's hilarious. It's like in The Naked Gun when the marching band and the steamroller and everything goes over the guy in the road who's flattened. You just keep more and more and more.
Pile on. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I think what's ironic too is that one scene, she's talking and the nuns are coming, they're approaching, and of course every time she looks over, she doesn't see the nuns, and then he sees the red tablecloth and has the seizure related to assuming that he thinks that it's Santa Claus, right? That's coming, and it's so bizarre because at the end of the day, you completely understand as a viewer why this child would have this reaction to these things. This is not it makes complete sense. Of course Ricky would be traumatized by the idea of nuns. He's been traumatized, and his brother was traumatized by being in this orphanage. Although clearly we have an inconsistency as to how much time was actually spent in this orphanage, because he is only 6 or 7, and yet at least 10 or 11 years had to have passed by this point.
Right.
And then the other thing is with the Santa Claus, he witnessed his brother dressed up as Santa Claus get shot.
Right.
So
he's been through a lot.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily giving that any importance.
No.
The Rosenbergs. And then the next scene, the Rosenbergs are in with the nun, Sister Mary, and it almost feels as if they want to return him because of that little incident at the on Main Street.
It was really weird though, because when you listen to the dialogue, it was he at one point says this is my son, I want to and then you're but wait, is he really trying to return him or not?
Which side of the fence was he on? How much do you think they knew though about his backstory?
I think
my
they knew.
take was that they didn't know.
Okay.
I didn't think that Mary Magdalene actually, like, seemed like she was trying to sweep it all under the rug. Like, she didn't want to tell them, oh, his brother was a psycho Santa Claus killer.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would have come up. I mean, but Ricky's living with him now. I mean, it's one of the most, the biggest moments in his life was when his brother was gunned down in front of him in a Santa suit, not that long ago. So I think they know, but it's great. It's something we can debate, and we will debate for years.
The file could have been sealed. In movies, usually files are sealed.
I love when files are sealed. Like, what can we do? It's
I
sealed.
know, but they don't expect. File is sealed, and the 6-year-old will never speak of it again. That's what 6-year-olds do.
All right, this is my favorite Ricky. Is intermediate Ricky is coming up. He's around 17. Stepdad has died. It's hit him pretty hard. And so what do we have? Baby Ricky. We have 8-ish-year-old Ricky.
Yeah.
And now we have intermediate Ricky. Whose age is so close to adult Ricky, that just have adult Ricky's hair be a little different, But no, they got a different guy who looks very different.
Very different. Completely different, like personality, look, body type, build in 1 year. It's fantastic that they thought that would work.
Yeah,
and freaking tastic. I can't believe they even bothered to mention the ages at both 17 and 18. Who does that? Plus, you would have saved an actor if you just used one. But it's so lovely, and I also like intermediate.
Maybe
Ricky.
they didn't have access. Maybe like Eric Freeman was not available suddenly. Like they did it all, and they're like, "Well, we need this scene," and like, "Oh, we can't get it."
Yeah, you might be right.
And or also never, they knew the directors knew. The writer
making the best tough situation.
Yeah, Lee Harry is a gosh darn genius, and everything about the way that this was made, it's like what a fun project where Lee Harry is told, "Here, we got footage. I want you to use at least 30 minutes of this old movie, write another movie around it, and here's only this much money and this much time. Go."
Here's 10 days. I think that's the rumor of how long they had. So 10 days.
Yeah, and he made a gosh darn masterpiece.
Your film, man.
All right, so Mr. Rosenberg's dead. So now Ricky tells the doctor about how he's about to tell a story he's never told before. Ooh.
Yes.
The doctor's like, "Oh, really?" He's out in the woods taking a walk, Ricky is, holding a tree branch that's slung over his shoulder casually. Did you guys notice that?
Yes,
Yeah.
I thought, what is he? Is he like a hobo? Is that like a hobo stick with the...
Yeah, that was weird. So he sees a couple bickering in the clearing. The man starts getting aggressive with the lady. She says, "Maybe I'm tired of you always grabbing at me. With your friends, it's real funny, but not right now." Which was
never funny. Less funny.
Right?
It's
not funny ever.
It's really
the 80s when you were so misogynistic.
Yeah.
What is she saying? Is she saying it's funny for her when he does it in front of his friends, or is she saying when he does it in front of his friends they think it's funny? You know what I mean?
I kind of assumed that like what she meant, like, when it's in front of his friends, like he's doing it in jest or whatever, and because no one was around, this was serious, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It's like one of those typical 80s like sexual harassment things that just do not play well today.
Yeah.
Especially now.
But that was it's like like, "Oh, when you aggressively paw at me in front of your friends," like, all right, I'll let it go then. I would dislike that. I would think she would dislike that as much
right.
or more
just from a
as
logic standpoint.
Privately done. You know what I mean?
I would say as a woman, you dislike it always.
Yes,
it doesn't matter with the context.
Yes.
Like, just don't paw at me.
So
not okay.
the man's not about to back down, and this gives Ricky a flashback. Naughty, he says as he looks on, which is great. Naughty is fantastic every time. It's on. After the girl fights back a bit, the guy decides to go get a beer. Ricky has slipped into the guy's Jeep, unbeknownst to the guy, and he runs over him multiple times, like forward, reverse. And
so funny.
And this woman,
that's when it becomes sublime.
Yes.
Because it's forward, reverse. If it were just once, it wouldn't have been great.
That's a good point. And then Ricky, the woman thanks Ricky and then walks away, which is really good stuff, Charlie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because that's unexpected morality, and it's broad and it's comic booky, and you don't feel bad about Eddie's being run over. Of course, he was a jerk and everything, but the whole thing's such a mishmash of entertainment and comedy and weirdness that it's like, yes.
And so many
it's
questions.
Not even really a horror movie there.
I feel like it was the first time for me that I was like, wait, like, how is she going to explain this to the authorities, you know?
Oh, and then I was expecting him to like salute her after she says yes, you know?
It's so...
Like, no problem, ma'am.
I think one thing to like, you know, like that it has to be emphasized is how like Ricky looks like a comic book hero. Like he is like super built, like again, that clean square cut jaw.
80s and very 80s too.
Yeah, very 80s. Like just he looks like that, you know, like the quarterback type. Like just, you expect him to be this hero. So this whole scene, these scenes, especially the first moments where he's sort of talking about like his first murders, like because there is this kind of moral code behind them, you're not like horrified. Like this is such a bizarre movie because you're like, I see what he's doing. I'm okay with this.
Yeah,
exactly.
Totally. You understand, and in a way that it works much more. The Ricky's murders are more cartoonish, and there's none of the grime. You know, even in the flashbacks to part one, there's a little bit of the grime going on there that you don't see as much from this point on. I don't think.
Well, I said to Tom, I was like, because I was like, oh, it looks like they took all the boob shots from the first movie and inserted them into this one. And then when they start this scene again, I was like, oh, more boobs. But actually, you do not see her. He tears at her shirt, but you don't actually see anything.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, oh. So, like, you suddenly get this, like, you can see the very clear, like, the different sensibility
Part one versus part two.
Between the two films.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was an edict too from the producers. You know, every second of nudity is being recycled for part two. You know.
Yeah.
All right. In the insane asylum, the doctor notes that it was a red car, but then he can't see Ricky. And then Ricky pops into this shot from directly next to him. Red car. Good point, says Ricky.
So good.
So good. And think what they're working with here. I mean, we know, Farley, because we filmed in your apartment in Manchester.
Right, I know.
They've got this one small room with a fake-looking window. And they got to make these two guys
have some tension,
one-liners, tension, different. It's so well done with so little time. And they amp it up. It's fantastic.
Now Ricky is 18. He's got a job in a restaurant. Okay, so that was Eric Freeman, right? The Ricky who drove the car over the guy, right? That was the right Ricky.
No, that's still intermediate Ricky who drives the Jeep.
Really? That's intermediate Ricky?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yeah. It's funny. You know what's funny about intermediate Ricky? Last thing. I think he has a little lock of his front hair dyed blonde.
Ah.
I could be wrong, but
Eric...
that seems like he seems so much more like of a sensitive type person versus like how Ava's been mentioning the football type of Ricky to come. But no, the first moment we see Ricky Eric Freeman is when he says, "I had to get a job. Yeah. My mom wouldn't pay for college," and he comes out wearing that white T-shirt in the alley, and it's just like shorthand for first job.
Yeah,
you come outside and you've got like your sleeves rolled up and you're like into an alley, and it's perfect. It's Americana.
While he's taking out the trash at this first job, he happens upon Rocco, who's beating up a guy who owes him money. Rocco states that he hopes the guy doesn't even pay up on Monday because he enjoys roughing him up too much. Then, oh no, Rocco, he pulls out a red handkerchief to wipe his face, and then he bumps into Ricky and tells him, "Get out of my way." So clearly that's going to set off Ricky. Ricky throws him into a pile of trash, and then he stabs him in the stomach with an umbrella, right through the stomach with the umbrella, and then pops open the umbrella on the other side of him. Oh, what a moment in film history, huh, Tom?
It is a very good moment.
It's I love it, but it's dubious too because it's not Christmas. The umbrella's multicolored. And then after that happens, it seems like they wanted to work so hard to have it rain.
Yeah.
Right after the stab, so they're like holding on the body. Then the rain comes and it slightly washes the blood, and I'm kind of like, it's not incredibly poignant, but it's hilarious too that they tried something like that, you know.
Meanwhile, back at the loony bin, the doctor's all worked up, sweating, wiping sweat from his brow with a handkerchief that has a red letter on it, which he quickly gets rid of. He's about ready to leave now because these two murders weren't previously known. Charlie.
I just give you props. I didn't recognize that red thing. I just thought it was a letter. And also, I didn't recognize the bandana being red. I know Ricky doesn't like red, but I forgot about these littler ones.
I didn't notice that either.
Yeah, I wasn't fixating on that.
Nice. Ricky is taking control of the interrogation, ladies and gentlemen. Tell me about Jennifer, says the doctor. Ricky initially refuses to talk, but then the doctor pulls out a headshot of Jennifer.
So quickly.
Can we just say quickly, like, this is not, like, by headshot, this is actually, like, actress headshot.
Right, yeah, glamour shot, yeah.
A picture of girl who was random girl that Ricky knew.
Yeah.
This is low-budget movie tradition. It is, because they don't want to waste money on photos or prints, so they just use the actor headshot. One could write an essay on it in a future book if one so desired.
I hope one does. All right. So Ricky, the picture's all he needs to get back to the story. She's the only thing I ever cared about, he says. They met when she hit him with her car while he was on his motorcycle. But how could he be mad at her? She was a knockout.
Meet cute, yeah.
The logistics,
like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah, the logistics of that at times I'm just like, man, some serious damage should have happened. It feels, but they're just in love. Love conquers all.
Bump.
We see shots of their love affair, including some slow, artful shots of the consummation of that affair. That was my first time, says Ricky. I thought it was Jennifer's, too. That's going to be a problem. Now they're at the movies. This is the extent of their love affair. They meet.
The
movies.
I mean, the movies is the most we see of Jennifer. Otherwise, we just see them making love, meeting, and then
motorcycle ride. That's kind of like a montage.
All right, good. Now they're at the movies, which feels very much like it's a screening room, right? Like they had access to a tiny.
Not that good. It feels smaller and weird. No, but it's lovely, man. I mean, it's like they had 4 extras. It's like something we would try to do. They had 4 dang extras. They never show reverse, as far as I know. So you're not seeing the screen or like the trailer. That's the audio and everything. It's so cheap, but it's so broad and simple, endearing. Yeah.
I really like you, Ricky, says Jennifer. You're different. I don't know what it is. They're about to kiss until the jerk a few seats behind them starts mocking them. And then she tells him this is the story of a guy dressed as Santa who kills people. So
and Ricky goes, what? It's fantastic.
It's so great.
It's so sophisticated.
But it's so
comedy.
It's perfect, like, because it's not even like acting, because it's what anyone would do in that situation, Like, what? There's no way that is true.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I kind of enjoyed the fact that I was like, so like this movie that has basically aired clips from the movie about the killer Santa is now also mentioning the movie about the killer Santa. And I'm like, it's, clearly they were going to be watching Silent Night, Deadly Night, right? Like there's no question.
Yeah, the levels. Yeah, lots of levels right there in terms
of good sense
meta-ness.
of humor.
Yeah.
Lots of levels. It really is. I give them so much credit for a movie like this. You don't expect that.
Right. I think one of the things that makes like what redeems the movie, because the first half of the movie with all the flashbacks, like you definitely see how like the first part was probably a lot like grimier, less fun, kind of like mostly all the things are kind of horrible and horrifying, and all the characters are kind of horrible and horrifying. But with part two, like the humor and and I think also just the like lighting in the second half of the movie is so much brighter.
Yeah.
And like, the characters are all kind of cartoon characters. And so you come off of it like you don't feel like dirty having watched this movie.
Exactly.
Yeah. 100%.
I give Jennifer a lot of credit. She's up to Ricky, like she's up to his level of like being like a model type dream girl, and she's simple and he's simple, and it's just they're well cast and they work well.
I'd rather watch a romantic comedy with the two of them, with none of them murdering. All right, so we get a brief clip. Charlie.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I love the movie scene so much, but they did go to the trouble to write that sci-fi trailer that's playing on the screen. And this is almost like a whole other level to this scene, that Ricky is like infatuated with the sci-fi.
Yeah. He's really into it. Yeah.
Is he into it because of the escapism, or maybe a little bit of the space violence? I don't know. But it's just this extra level, just like when Tom's Eastern European kind of character gets into the arcades.
Yes.
That in Slingshot Cops, that flashed through my mind. It's just like this extra thing, and then it's gone. But if you take a minute to appreciate it, it's another bonus for the fans or for the audience,
We do get a brief clip of the movie they're watching, the Santa killing situation, and while Ricky, I think so. Am I right, Ava? I think we see the guy with a gun.
You are, yeah.
And Ricky says "punish" while he's watching it, and that makes him get up. While he's gone, Jennifer's old boyfriend Chip appears. It just like appears,
Well, he also gets up because the two guys in the back are continue to be rowdy throughout.
Yeah. So, yes, Charlie.
Question about the two guys in the back. The one who's the real heckler, is he friends with the guy he's sitting next to?
I think so, yeah.
I kind of assumed he was, because there was a lot of personal space encroachment.
But other than that, there's a lot of like, who are you and what are you doing?
Yeah, well, because what was interesting was that the guy he kept talking to kind of seemed like he was like, kept scrunching in his chair and like trying to get away from this guy.
Yep.
So like you did have to wonder, like, is he physically trying to pull away because he's annoyed, or is it because he's embarrassed? Like,
and he's
I guess
older.
why the question is asked.
That's
and he's older, and he wasn't dressed quite similarly. It didn't look like they would hang out. It's a whole other movie going on there in the back.
That's a great question. Yeah, very interesting. All right, so while he's gone, Chip appears, and Chip wonders why he hasn't seen Jennifer lately. And great news, I have the clip lined up where Jennifer's going to explain why.
Trying to give you another chance.
Great. You stood me up. You cheated on me. You ruined my best sweater. And I would rather die before I go out with you again.
Oh, ruin the best sweater.
Nice.
What a nice touch. Oh, I love that line.
The detail. And then it makes you imagine, well, what happened?
What did he do to ruin her best sweater?
Yes.
Yeah.
There are so many ways he could have done that.
I know, and I've thought of all of them.
And Chip it's like movie shorthand for bad boyfriend and everything. Just the way that he shows up, how quickly it goes to their being antagonistic. It's great. It's so entertaining.
It's really good. What a nice touch. They must have been cracking up on the set when they were delivering that line. Way to go, Lee, Harry, and the rest of the crew. Ricky kills the annoying guy in the back of the theater.
in a comic, in a scene that can only be described as done for comedy.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
And Tom had to step away for a second. You missed it. I played the clip about how Chip ruined her best sweater. What a great line, huh?
Nice. Chip. I love his name is Chip. Too.
Oh yeah, he's
perfect.
80s bad guy cliche from in every way, especially the name. All right. So Ricky kills the guy in the back. Then Chip's girlfriend wants Chip to come back to her. And he says, I'll be home all summer to Jennifer before leaving. Now Ricky's back, sitting on the other side of Jennifer. You know, like much like how he sneaks up on the doctor. He says he's beginning to like this picture. Now they're on a walk together when they go by a car that Chip is working. Okay, so now what's this? She takes Ricky on a walk in Chip's neighborhood, or does Chip just live near her? You know, what's your theory on that, Charlie?
It's akin to the earlier Santa cat antlers girl situation, where you're kind of like, everybody's just near each other.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just movie convenience.
Yeah.
I don't think she wanted to bump into Chip or anything.
Or why is Chip at the movies? Like, Chip is just suddenly like behind her in the movies. Like, But that's part of the fun. Just like things just happen. Fun. Don't question it.
I mean, I think with the scene in the movie theater, like they couldn't give us any additional context because it would have clearly ruined it would have ruined that movie magic of like, oh, this is a theater, and revealed too much about what this room actually really was.
Yeah.
So everything happens, like everything is super tight. Like those shots are really tight to the like actors' faces and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And with this, I mean, again, like I agree. I don't think that she had any she wasn't trying to get Ricky and Chip in the same room or same space together. It just movie convenience.
A lot of the story is like told with the logic of a story told by like a 6-year-old, you know, where like, and then after the movie they went for a walk. And then Chip was there working on his car. You know what I mean? Just like
totally. Yeah.
Like, and that's good. All movies should be like that. So yeah, Chip's there working on his car. He continues to be rude, asking Jennifer about the good times they had at homecoming and at the hayride. Oh no, Ricky is not going to stand for this. So he takes the jumper cables and fries Chip to death, just like that. Charlie first.
It's just another killing that is morally almost justified in comic book way and movie way.
Mm-hmm.
Again, so you're watching this and you don't feel that grab. It's just like, oh man, they amped up that jerkness level of that guy, and it's such a ridiculous way to kill somebody too that it's getting into like Looney Tunes kind of scenario.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. Is like, it's so ridiculous that he puts the jumper cables in his mouth, right? And then he like
he's laughing,
but then he's laughing maniacally. But then he's got this device that's like sending the and he like keeps adjusting it to make sure it's strong enough, and it's so silly.
You're right, Tom. That just takes it to a whole nother level. Actual inserts of let's dial this up.
He knows exactly
the only thing that would have made it better is if Chip had braces, because then you would have had like the wires conducting.
That would have been nice. Yeah. Jennifer's not happy, and she says the words that just break Ricky. She says, "I hate you, Ricky." And Ricky then decides that she needs to be punished. And then a great moment, a quick cut to Jennifer. She goes, uh-oh. You know, like the realization that, like, wait, I've just yelled at this guy who's clearly a maniac because
it's so funny.
It's very funny. And then, boom, he kills her. I forget, how did he, like...
Antenna from the car.
Okay, yeah, from behind. That's a cool shot. I kind of like it. She's running toward the camera. Then he comes from behind her. So, again, in the same way that Chip just appears behind her seat at the movie theater, you know, a police officer is just there suddenly, you know? And he says, he tells Ricky to freeze. Ricky smugly just waits for him to get closer, you know? No funny stuff, says the cop. Right before Ricky takes the cop's got the gun pointed at Ricky, and Ricky just uses his superhuman strength to just turn the gun around so it shoots the cop right in the face. Again, comic book, ridiculous, delightful.
It's like police work 101 is don't get close enough so they can take the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now Ricky is in full psychotic mode. Oh my God. And it's so much fun.
The movie reached this crescendo here.
Yes.
It's just like
some guy.
This is
everything
like
you ever wanted.
It's amazing.
Some guy comes out to see what all the noise is, and Ricky just shoots him. Then another guy's taking out his trash, and one of the great moments in film history, Ricky goes, "Garbage day," and then shoots him through the trash can, and boom, that guy's dead. Now at that moment, I think before the shot happens, or either before or after, on the VHS version, you can clearly see the whole crew in the background, right? Tom and Ava, did you guys note?
Yeah, I do remember that before. I didn't actually catch it this time, but I remember that.
Did you see it, Ava? Did you see the crew?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And in such a way, like, you could tell the way they angled it. They were like, wait, the crew's back there. Well, just bring the camera down and point real high. Don't worry. You won't see them. And then the ratio was different for, like, a square TV versus because in all the letterbox versions of the movie, it's not there, And I missed, although I thought I saw one piece of equipment. Were you looking for it, Charlie? Was there one piece?
I was looking for it, and the only thing I saw that I thought was kind of funny was the cones that are there for the work area, like the safety cones. And I thought, oh, is that filming equipment? But I guess they were trying to play that off as construction equipment. But, they're filming super fast. Ricky's walking down the street. They're pulling focus on him. He's turning. They're dollying. There's a lot going on right there in that street. So they must have said, hey, you could set up your craft service table back there. You're clear.
Yeah.
And then they had to try to make it work.
But yeah, it's such a great moment in the VHS version to just see a bunch of people just standing there, during this.
At this moment of all moments. It's so good. Oh, Ricky unleashed.
Yeah. I cannot stress enough how, like, I've seen it so many times that I'm a little desensitized to the greatness of these moments. Ava, what was going through your head?
It was very, like, I was finally really kind of enjoying the movie. Like, I would say that this part is definitely the back half of the movie is definitely stronger than the first half.
Yeah.
But, like, this movie, this murder montage is just really fun. Like, for a horror movie, and it's, one of the things is, like, I don't necessarily love things that are too super gory. Like, I am not the kind of person who's going to love Saw or those movies that are, like, torture, horror stuff. I don't enjoy that. So these kind of, like, quick boom shot deaths are, like, where I kind of enjoy those more. Like, I'm like, okay, Dad, like, I don't need to think about these people suffering.
No, it's like Wile E. Coyote getting an anvil dropped on him.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes.
So
Guy
much
walks
more
out
fun.
his door. Hey, what's going on? Boom, and then Ricky's laughing, and you're like, okay. It's the tone can change everything, and also, I guess, like you said, the visuals too. You're on to the next thing.
And
it's
it's bright. It's the middle of the day. I like that it's the middle of the day. Everything about it is just
laughing,
inspiring and delightful. Yeah. All right, then a little girl rides her bike up to Ricky. Is he gonna kill her? No. Then Ricky shoots an oncoming car, saying "bingo" when it like hits like the engine or something, causing the car to then go up a mound of dirt. And does it flip over? I can't remember, but it starts burning. And
then it explodes, and it's another red car.
Is it? Oh, I didn't pick up on that one.
Chips.
Nice.
And it's, it's like the whipped cream on the sundae. Just keeps coming. There's all this going on. Then you get a car flip with an unbelievable explosion.
It's so much fun. Then he just walks right into the police barricade, which is just there. Like the logistics. I don't understand the logistics of anything that's going on. Just suddenly something appears again with the logic of a 6-year-old telling a story. And then at the police barricades there, and immediately it goes from them be like, drop your weapon, to immediate as he's putting it, turning the gun toward himself, and then they're like, no, don't do it, And they're pleading with him so aggressively that it's like, guys, I mean, this let him do it, right, Charlie?
Maybe it's for the best.
But alas,
and what a transcendent moment to just transition back to the interview.
Yes,
you know, like in terms of the writing, the editing, it's just like it reaches this garbage day scene is off the charts. Ricky does the gun thing, and then you go back to the interview, and it's just like perfect change of pace and tone.
Yeah. Let's listen to it.
But hey, that's life.
He puts the cigarette out on the photo of Jennifer.
Sorry things worked out this way, Henry. You only wanted to help. I appreciate the effort, though. But between you and me, Doc, I know who's to blame.
All right, so it's revealed that he's killed the doctor. So now, so I don't know what the security's like at this place, but now he just is able to walk out the door.
Yeah.
Charlie.
A lot of Sammy Snyder's in the way he speaks.
Oh yeah, a lot of attitude.
You know,
yeah.
I give him so much credit. He's so clear, you know, overly clear with his diction and his facial movements. That everything he says, he doesn't have a ton of lines in that interview, but everything really like hits home. Everything is a lot of effort goes into it.
He's the best.
Yeah.
Okay, now we see a detective explaining the situation to Sister Mary Margaret. Is it the same actress, as far as we know?
I think so.
All right.
know.
I thought it was Sister Mary Magdalene. Maybe it's Margaret. I don't know.
I don't know. You're probably right. It's Sister Mary something. I'm sure you're right. She explains that Mother Superior has had a stroke, and the detective says, he'd have to find her first. How could he possibly find her? And okay, do strokes cause like half of your face to turn into like a demon face? Is that a thing? Anyone?
Tom said it was the first instance of stroke causing leprosy that he ever heard of. I thought that she had been burned. So but then I noticed that maybe, yes, it did look more like leprosy.
That's never been, it's not explained. I mean, the only explanation is the stroke and then like her face, but that's fun too, because again, maybe a 6-year-old would do that if they were telling the story.
Yeah, and there's nothing that happens in part 1 at the end to her or anything?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, we see it. We see the end of part 1 where he's shot there.
Yeah, I just went with it. I didn't understand it either.
It's great. Okay, we hear Ricky killing a Salvation Army Santa off camera, and then we see him making a phone call in the booth. Merry Christmas, Santa's back, he says, presumably to Mother Superior. So he did find her address quite easily. Now at Mother Superior, you know what I like too is that they just race to the finish. There is no, like you look at a movie like Halloween 5 where it's just 30 minutes of screaming and darkness. I mean, they just like, all right, end this. He's got to go seek revenge.
I also you're rooting for him.
Oh, yeah.
You hate Mother Superior. Like, this is a horrible person.
Right. Yes.
So this is very bizarre, turn of events, because most of the time in these movies, you are not rooting for the killer to kill the last remaining survivor, right? But in this movie, you are like, oh, no. He needs to kill her before this movie can end.
Yes.
Right. He's an anti-hero. He's not like a killer, It's not like a slasher.
Now at Mother Superior's place, she's watching a Christmas parade, grumbling about how shamefully they're making a mockery of the sacraments, which is a nice little touch there. And as I mentioned, for some reason, half of her face is horribly damaged. Is that the same actress, do we think, from the flashbacks?
I think so. It sounds like her.
Yeah, voice for sure, especially.
Yeah.
All right. Ricky goes up to her door, which is number 666.
Yes.
A lot of questions.
A
lot of questions about that. He cuts through it with an axe and lets himself in. He goes up to her room. She fends him off for a bit. Then he breaks through the bedroom door. He destroys the TV that's showing the Christmas parade. as she tries to sneak away. Then she wheels herself to the stairs, falls down just before Ricky can get her. She wheels herself into the kitchen. Yes.
And he's really funny here, too. He's going around, because I wrote down, Mother Superior, I've got a present for you. And he's just going around with the axe, and you're like, get her. This is fantastic. And he's smiling the whole time.
And she says, Richard, you come and face me, for I am not afraid of you. You are weak, just like your brother. And like your brother, you must be punished. She's going, I mean, there is no Santa didn't work with Billie, so she's trying a different approach.
Ricky, it's like trying to talk Jason in Friday Part 2, using psychobabble or something.
Right? Yeah.
But here it's fantastic. I don't even think it makes an iota of difference to Ricky.
No.
Okay.
How great is that?
The authorities arrive with Sister Mary. And they find Mother Superior, and Sister Mary goes up to talk to her, but her head falls off because she's already... So Ricky has cut her head off and then put it back on, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just for the thrill of...
Yeah, he staged it.
Thinking about what other people would experience.
This will give him a thrill, yeah. The authorities... Then Ricky appears and he's shot down. What a tragic story. He's gone, sister, it's over, says the cop as the nun looks beside her to see Mother Superior's head, which causes her to scream. And then just for kicks, we get a shot of Ricky opening his eyes and laughing, and then a shot of like a hand with a knife coming at the camera. just for good measure, right? No reason for that, Charlie.
No reason for that hand and knife. I have no idea. And maybe no reason for Ricky to come back alive for a second. Yeah. I don't know. Is that just a temporary thing, or did they think, let's throw it in there just in case we want to do Part 3 and we didn't want the last shot to be him totally dead?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, and there is a Part 3, and Ricky's involved. We've seen it, haven't we? And I have no memory of it, though.
It's the one he's in the hospital and like he has his brain exposed, remember?
And
dimly. Yeah.
I don't remember.
Is Clint Howard in that one or in a different one?
Is it Clint Howard?
Yeah, isn't Clint Howard in one of them?
Yeah, I think he's in 4. I think he's in 4.
All right. Anyway, like I said, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's really good. I hadn't seen it in a while, and I expressed to Charlie that I was afraid it was going to be grimier than I remembered. For instance, Slumber Party Massacre 3, one of my all-time faves. The last time I saw it, I was like, it feels sleazier than I remember, you know?
Yeah.
But this one, no. You know, yes, the flashback's much sleazier than the stuff filmed for Part 2, but it's, you know, it's even still, it's got a good vibe, upbeat, you know, fun, moving forward kind of vibe. Ricky's performance, we're not doing it justice. It's so good. I mean, this character is an all-time legendary character in all of film, and it's so hilarious to watch. And I very much empathize with the job given to the filmmakers. You know, from the little we know about it, it's like, here's your task, here are your limitations, see what you can do with it. And I think they were outrageously inventive. And I don't even like to you know, say, well, we'll give them points because of the limitations, you know. But I feel like all creative endeavors should be done this way, quickly and efficiently and just boldly. Like I can't say enough good things about Silent Night.
This is like the embodiment of marathon living.
Yeah. All of our movies are Freaky Farley. Is, you know, it's the same exact structure as Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. You know, watch Freaky Farley again, Ava, and you're like, oh, they completely the exact structure. Tom, give us your thoughts.
Well, it's good to bring that up, right? Because it's the same structure, but Freaky Farley is much more of a cohesive story. And that's the thing. Like in my mind, you know, I remember Ricky obviously and all the moments of glory and just the fun vibe. But watching it with Ava for the first time and trying to view it as a film from end to end, like with a story, it's less
satisfying.
It's less cohesive and satisfying than Freaky Farley would be, because it doesn't really, as a whole, like the parts are great, but as a whole it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Right, because we had control over what happened in the flashbacks.
Right.
Yeah, and what's lucky for them is it's the second half.
Right.
And in any movie, if you have a really good ending, that's what you leave on that high.
Yeah,
and you
good
get
point.
40 minutes of Eric Freeman on the top of his game.
Oh.
There isn't a scene that's not memorable with him.
Oh,
There's
no.
not a throwaway, Yeah. And I think it was so far ahead of its time that people didn't even understand it when it came out. He thought he did a bad job, and people just thought, oh, this is cheesy. People have caught up to that kind of movie now, and he's, a demigod.
Yes.
He's loved. Everyone loves this. And we saw it in its original environment. I mean, we saw this before this was a thing on the internet. We saw it blind rental from the video store.
Right.
So, we took it and enjoyed it then. But even now, it just stands out among a lot of the movies that came out around its time, including others of this series, by being a lot funnier, a lot less grime. It still delivers, like, entertainment and, a little bit of that Christmas horror, but it just doesn't make you feel bad.
Yep.
Yeah. It's it never delves. The psychology is always so on the surface. I mean, they're not getting deep. Red makes them freak out. Red and misbehavior, and we're not even gonna stick to that that closely. Or someone taking out their trash. So
Yeah.
Ava, what's your review of this movie?
So I think it was hard. So that first 40 minutes are a slog. I was I kept saying to Thomas, so I was like, no, so seriously, this is all from the first movie? And he was like, yes. And I was like, I don't understand why this is happening. Why is this happening? Why am I rewatching this? And there are limitations to that sort of flashback structure, which is further compounded by the fact that all these flashbacks happen to another character.
Right.
So
yeah.
I spent the first half of the movie being like, I don't understand why any of this is happening, or why we have to rehash any of this, or why this makes any sense to rehash, because there is no reason for and this is a problem a lot of times with many flashback scenes, is that because there's a story that a character wants to that the author or someone wants to tell, to insert, to explain something down the line or explain something about the current character. But oftentimes a lot of times they don't work, because you are taking on other people's perspective, because there's no way to tell the story without those other perspectives, except that the character who is telling the story wouldn't actually have access to that perspective.
Yeah,
so,
I think some of that. I think when you watch it again, and the heights to which the Ricky character will go, then you sit back and you watch the first half, just appreciating the subtleties of Ricky, just the way he delivers the lines and the voiceover, the back and forth with the doctor, those become even more enjoyable. The more when you're first watching it, Ricky isn't a titan of film yet. I think.
Well, because that first half, it's he's only there for those minimal scenes, and then you're flashing back to all these other random characters who don't actually have a lot to do with the actual story that is going to happen in the present.
It's mild. It's pretty entertaining. It's the best parts of part one. I mean,
I figured that out.
Yeah.
It's like watching a small time magician try to fool you doing something, and you can see maybe the dove behind the little box, or you can see his trick, and you're like, oh, that's what he's trying to make me believe that's happening. It's not working, but this is delightful. And that's the whole other level of this movie, that you're like, oh my God, they tried to write another brother into this scene and explain it this way. That is delightful. And it's like Farley said, the second time around, you're like, just wait for it. Just wait for the movie theater scene, for the date scenes. Just wait for it. And then Garbage Day.
Yeah, Garbage Day is something else. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
even the guy before Garbage Day, I almost like him better now. Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, I know that guy. Yeah, that guy hasn't gotten his due.
He's like way up, wearing a football jersey. He just comes out on his porch.
Yeah, I definitely think though the movie does like take a turn. It kicks up a notch in its enjoyment factor as soon as we transition into Ricky's part of the story. I mean, at first I was still a little like when we got like younger Ricky, but then once we started getting to murder Ricky, it was all good.
Yeah. And I mean, most movies are boring. Most of the movies we review are boring for an hour of the 90 minutes are boring. Like I wasn't bored. And Tom points out the lack of a traditional arc, and but I mean. I don't know. I used to watch a local public access show that just showed clips of horror movies, and I was content. It would just show random clips for an hour. And in terms of just sitting back and watching whatever, I'll watch some of the best moments of Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 1 before Part 2 starts 40 minutes later. Sure,
I also have to say that what is nice is that in those 48 minutes of like new plot, it moves at a quick pace.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, that doesn't drag at all. It takes you through this, and like this kind of story of like how I became this murderer, and now I get my ultimate revenge on this sort of bane of my childhood, which is this evil mother superior character.
Yeah, it does not waste a second. It like seriously, it's like a master's class.
He's like the Terminator at the end there. Yeah.
I mean, and there's something a little robotic about his line delivery. So
yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Oh.
Now, we watched this for Shock December. Didn't we watch it in college too, or just Charlie and I watch it in college, or am I imagining this?
Did we watch it first in college?
I had seen it already before before December. I know that much, but. Yeah, it's legendary. Tom, was that your first time when we saw it in 01?
I can't remember.
Yeah, anyway, just curious.
I was as much familiar with just the video box because this is controversial and it was iconic. Seeing that video box with the Santa and the axe of parts 1 and part 2, I always knew it existed, and I was a little scared of it, But
it's so cartoonish. It's so inventive. Again, maybe I'm delusional, but I just think it's like it's done by really intelligent people who
sense of humor.
Yeah,
creative. I mean, 10 out of 10. I'm trying to think of something to say that I'm like, there's nothing that's bad. It's just like, wow, I liked it even more maybe this time.
Yeah.
Maybe because I was doubly worried that I was like, oh, I liked it so much then, I might not like it that much now. It flew by.
It flew by. Good. Yeah, it really did. Yeah, so I can't say enough good things about Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. So any other thoughts, or are we good?
Do you have the book there, Tom? Did we gave it good? I mean, it instantly won us over. And quick note, when you're watching, 21 horror movies or whatever, and this comes on, talk about a little pick-me-up.
Yeah.
When you've got like dark scenes and unmemorable characters, and then you've got Ricky's rampage.
Yeah. And it's great.
And it's brightly lit.
Yes.
I mean, this is like another reason. One of the reasons I like The Mutilator too is because it's like a brightly lit horror movie for like a good chunk of time. Because there's so many horror movies where I'm just like, I can't even see what's happening.
Yeah.
It's
so
more
dark.
Sophisticated to brightly light it, just like Psycho. And it's the simplistic way is to think each shot needs to look spooky or creepy, but that's not the thing. The thing is seeing the woods for the trees. It's not like you just want to have this shot's creepy, this shot's creepy, this is dark. it's the whole thing, and they were brave and they just trusted it and did it.
Yeah, it is superb. I've sent fan emails to the director. I mailed him a DVD of Freaky Farley just because I appreciate him so much, and he was nice enough. I think he wrote back once or twice, and then the restraining order came. But anyway, God bless everyone involved in this movie, and for Tom, Ava, and Charlie, this is Farley saying good night.